right, we're going to take a look at Boolean operators. Boolean operators basically are ways to, like it says, operate on Booleans. So, for example, this exclamation point, if you put it in front of a Boolean, what it does is it switches the value of that Boolean. Now, so it basically, if it was going to be true before, now it'd be false. If it was going to be false, now it's going to be true. So it's basically like saying not this condition. So if this condition is not true. And here's where I see this come in handy a lot. I'll have people do something like this where they say, okay, if my condition is true, do nothing. Else, do this code. And this works, okay? It will work the way that you intended it to. You know, if the condition is true, nothing happens. If it's false, something happens. But it's sloppy. It's kind of hard to read. It's extra space that you don't need. What you really should do instead is say, if my condition is not true, if not condition, then run my code. And that's so much simpler, so much easier to read. It's really, it makes a difference as far as making your code make more sense to people who read it. Another Boolean operator is AND. Now, AND, for an AND statement to return true, both things have to be true. So real quick, I'm going to show you something called a truth table. So if the first statement is true and the second statement is true, then this AND statement will be true. So if I say I'm going to make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I bring you back a sandwich and it has peanut butter on it, and it has jelly on it, then the statement peanut butter and jelly was true. Now, if the first statement's true and the next statement is false, then the AND statement will be false. Because I promised both. I promised AND. So if the first statement's false, the second statement's true, then our AND statement's going to be false. Same thing, if they're both false, then it's going to be false. The only way that the statement is going to return true is if this and this, the first condition and the second condition, are both true. Okay? Now, and the way that we do that is this double and. You can also do a single and. I prefer you use the double. I'm not going to explain why quite yet. We'll get there later. You can also do or. Okay, now the symbol for or is these vertical lines like you would use for like absolute value or something. It's right above your return key. You'll see these vertical. On the AP test, if you get lost and forget the symbol for or, you can literally just write or. In Python, you can actually write or as well. But in Java, the symbol is these vertical symbols. Again, one vertical line will actually work, but I want you to use the double, and I'll explain why I want you to use the double later. Now, or, what it means is if at least one of the things is true. So if they're both true, then we say, sure, the statement this or this is true. I guess I could go ahead and write this. Okay, so this or, if this is true, the second statement is true, then that or that will be true. Same thing if the first is true and the second is false. If I say I'm going to make you a peanut butter or jelly sandwich, and I give you a sandwich with just peanut butter, I fulfilled my promise. I didn't say I was going to give you both. I said I was going to give you one or the other. So this would be true if the second statement is true. Then we're still okay. If I say peanut butter or jelly and I give you jelly, then that's still fulfilling my promise. But if I say peanut butter or jelly and I hand you turkey, okay, if both of those things were false, that's the only way this statement is going to return false. So an easier way of thinking about it, for an and statement, the only way you get true is if they're both true. For an or statement, the only way you're going to get false is if they're both false. Okay? So that's how we're going to use these and or statements. Let me give you an example of how we can use this to clean things up. So let's say there's a situation where in order to pass a class, you need to both have a passing average and you need to have below a certain number of averages. Well, all I do is I say, if your absences are less than 6 and your grade is higher than 70, then you pass. Otherwise, you don't. Because basically what we're doing is we're saying, well, if there's this complicated condition, okay, then let's write a complicated condition. Now, I'll see people write some pretty ugly if statements. They'll say, okay, if absences is less than or equal to 6, system.out.print, no credit, else absences, or sorry, grade greater than or equal to 70, system.out.print, you get credit, else, and they put another if condition in here. And hopefully you can see how this is so much nastier. Some.out.print, no credit. So what it's saying is, okay, if your absences are less than 6, you don't get credit. If not, we have to check another condition. And, oh, if the grade is greater than 70, you get credit. Otherwise, you don't. Now, we can do this. This works. This gives us the same answer. But hopefully you see that this is just so much more readable. It's simpler to write. You're less likely to make a mistake. So these Boolean operators really clean up our code and make us less likely to make coding mistakes. Okay, so there's Boolean operators.